Welcome to the BlackTrack, where I do commentary and review on movies with an all-black cast or at least a black lead. Who doesn't love a great boxing match? The build-up and anticipation, the atmosphere and the action. For the kind of people who like that kind of stuff, there's nothing quite like it. But what if I told you that some of the hype behind some of your favorite boxing matches was completely fabricated?
At least that's what the movie The Great White Hype wants you to believe. 1996's The Great White Hype is a satirical look at the world of professional boxing promotion that borders on being a straight-up expose. It was directed by Reginald Hudlin, known for the first House Party movie and the movie Boomerang. I like that Hudlin was never afraid to try something new and unique, and it takes some balls to make a movie exposing something that was actively happening in the world of boxing on a near monthly basis in real life. It's probably why it was decided that this would be a comedy, to make it seem less scathing and to distract away from the reality of boxing promotion. The Great White Hype stars Damon Wayans as James the Grim Reaper Roper, a boxer who's just too damn good at what he does, which causes audiences to lose interest in his fights. He's promoted by the Reverend Fred Sultan, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who was having way too much fun in the role. Both are obvious stand-ins for pro boxing duos like Mike Tyson and Don King, but you can insert any promotional mouthpiece in their place and the comparison would still apply. Jackson is the highlight of the movie, receiving most of the screen time and eating up all the charisma in every scene he's in. That's not to say everybody else isn't any good, because other supporting actors like Jamie Foxx and Jeff Goldblum both deliver entertaining performances whenever they get the spotlight.
Does The Great White Hype accurately portray the behind-the-scenes nonsense of the sport of boxing, or is it a swing and a miss and a silly comedy not to be taken seriously? Let's BlackTrack and find out.
You know, for the Grim Reaper Roper to be modeled after Mike Tyson, this match sure seems to be going on for a long time. The announcer says this is the 6th round. The champ even seems to be taking some damage. It's actually a bit of a misconception that all Tyson fights ended in the 1st or 2nd round. Sure, he had a hell of a lot of first round finishes, but he also had a good number of matches that went 6 or 7 or even 10 rounds. So it's not out of pocket for the Great White Hype to have the heavyweight champion go 6 rounds with a bum that the Reaper ultimately defeats. Only problem is, the pay-per-view buys and the overall revenue is down 50%. Good lord. The fans are beyond bored of the same old 1-2 punch that the champ's fights usually deliver, and because of the lack of revenue, the champ can't get paid what he was promised, which was $10 million. The Sultan instead offers to buy him 2 more Rolls Royces, giving him a grand total of 8 Rolls Royces.
That's how you know that the value of a car is in the mud once you own it, because he could just sell some of them cars to get some of his money.
You see, when it comes to a fight, probably about 80% of the interest is in the story. This is something that boxing has more or less lived off of for decades, especially if you can introduce a racial aspect, something that goes all the way back to the Jack Johnson and the Great White Hope days. Sure, it's nice if you can knock dudes out all the time, but that eventually gets boring, especially if the fighters have no personality. The fights need something that the fans can get behind. That brings us back to the movie, where Sultan theorizes that since Larry Holmes vs. Cooney was the highest selling pay-per-view ever, which is cap by the way, it's not even close to that, not even in 1996. But anyway, he figures that if he can match the racial tensions created in the build-up to that match, that he can sell the fight on that alone. There's only one problem. In the Great White Hype universe, white dudes make for terrible heavyweight boxers. And you know a quick and easy way to show just how terrible white boxers are? That's right, you guessed it, a musical montage showing white boxers getting absolutely thrashed, set to some Campolo music.
Rocky 6. Whoa!
Boy, I remember when I used to think these type of TVs were for high society. I used to wonder how people even got them in their houses. Things are looking bleak. That is until Miss Sally Fine Richardson comes up with the idea that the person who should face the champ is the only man to not only beat him, but knock him out as an amateur. A man named Terry Conklin, played by Peter Berg. That's gotta suck. You're the heavyweight champion, known all around the world, and it's brought up that a random dude whooped your feet years ago.
That's like being around a group of friends and being reminded of that one time that a girl choked you out on the playground in the 2nd grade. Sure, you could probably take her now, but would anybody care anymore?
You know what's crazy though? there actually is a contender who's been trying to fight the champ for a while. Mr. Marvin Shabazz, played by disgraced actor Michael Jace, is the #1 contender for the belt. But as mentioned earlier, nobody wants to see the champ potentially beat up another boring black man. So Sultan keeps giving him and his manager Hassan, played by Jamie Foxx, the runaround. Though a background story, when they do pop up every now and then in the movie, it's always comedy. My favorite part is when they manage to get the one journalist willing to call out the Sultan on his bullshit to interview them about constantly getting ducked, and Shabazz is trying to explain what kind of car he drives.
All right, I'm tired of man driving around town in 8 Rolls Royces. He ain't fought nobody. I'm still in a Broham.
Exactly.
That a what?
A Broham. He drives a Broham.
What's Broham?
A Brom.
Broham.
A Broham.
Yes.
Broham,
You
not
say
Brom. I got it.
Yeah.
Broham.
Sidebar, if you're wondering why I said Michael Jace was disgraced, just look up what the dude did to his wife. Long story short, dude is doing 40 years to life and may never get out. No more BlackTracks for him, I guess. So whatever happened to old Terry Conklin? Obviously, once knocking out the champ didn't lead to a lucrative career in boxing, or else everybody would know who he is right now. So if he's not boxing, what else could a white guy with enough angst and pent-up anger to knock a man out do in the year 1996? Of course, I should have known. Grunge rock. I want to say he's a nobody, but he's somebody enough to have his pick of multiple groupies, so who am I to hate? The Sultan grabs enough of his attention to convince him to step back in the ring, despite Terry being a man of peace now, who only wants to help the needy. And with the $10 million that he's promised, he can be the Mr. Beast of the boxing world if he wants to. There's just one small problem. Dude isn't even ranked. So in what world would he be eligible for a title match? Well, I'm here to tell you, he would be, not just in this movie world, but in the real world too, because rankings are usually nonsense. In the movie, the man in charge of all that, Julio Escobar, played by Cheech Marin, is already on Sultan's payroll, so he just rigs it. I'm certain there's always been a few Julio Escobars in the fight world, past and present.
It reminds me of when Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather. In no universe or reality should Conor McGregor have been anywhere near a boxing ring with Floyd Mayweather in it. But with enough money, reality can be anything you want.
Speaking of Conor McGregor, Terry Conklin is billed as Irish for his debut. However,
Irish. Terry Conklin.
I'm not Irish. It's boxing. It just means you're white. Open.
and the crowd goes mild sauce. It's a nice touch having guys like Burt Sugar sitting in the press section. It gives the movie a sense of legitimacy, like it was sanctioned by real boxing organizations or something. Also, check out the butler from the movie Boomerang, just chilling in the background. At the moment, the press nor the fans are buying this matchup. And if Sultan is to be believed, the fault lies with this guy Saul, played by John Lovitz, who's apparently the PR guy. But to be honest with you, everybody the Sultan surrounds himself with seems to just be there for the perks. I mean, not that I blame them, the perks are nice, but Sultan shouldn't be surprised, because when you surround yourself with a circus, you get clowns. As if the bad press wasn't enough, Mitchell Kane, the journalist who interviewed Shabazz earlier, played by Jeff Goldblum, is trying to blackmail Sultan by threatening to go public with a series of photos showing the Sultan in compromising positions. Basically, the Sultan has been having a bunch of freak-offs with what looks like college girls and a whole host of other women. And I think the movie is trying to imply that the women are underage, but even in Hollywood, they weren't gonna go that far. There's even some that are supposed to be Girl Scouts, but are clearly grown-ass women. Thank goodness. In true Diddy fashion though, Sultan takes none of it serious and even offers Mitchell a job, since guess what? There just so happens to be an opening in the PR department. Oh yeah, AJ Johnson is in this too, but he kinda just stands around. I don't think he has a single line. Mitchell takes the job and wastes no time literally getting his feet wet.
Why? Because journalistic integrity, that's why. I do it too. As a reporter, he already gets paid to lie to people. Why not get paid even more money to lie for Sultan?
At least he's getting paid. James Roper's groupies don't even get that. They have to fight over whatever scraps the champ doesn't want, like this diamond ring from Sultan. And then to add insult to self-inflicted injury, the champ decides he wants it after all.
Now that look nice on you, champ. That look all right? It look nice on you. You done came up like 7-Up, baby.
Yuck, I'm about to throw up, and I'm not even the one licking the boots. While we're on the topic of the champ, he's doing absolutely nothing to sell or prepare for the fight. Well, let me correct that. He's doing something, but that something is clearing out the fridge. Terry Conklin appears to be selling this fight by himself, and I do miss the days when there were trash-talking promos leading up to fights that helped sell it as a real conflict. I hate to keep going back to Mayweather, but a lot of the stuff he said that used to get people mad leading up to his fights was expertly staged to generate just that reaction. These days, when you watch the build up to a fight, whether it's boxing or MMA, it's just two boring guys staring into the camera talking about how happy and lucky they are to be there.
I don't want to hear that shit. I want to hear you disrespect your opponent's entire family. I don't care if one of them is in a wheelchair. I want to hear you talk about how they should just roll with the punches.
If nothing else, Conklin is having the time of his life. Ever since Mitchell took over, he has the adoration of women, young kids, betting white males. He even knocks out Shabazz in an impromptu confrontation. But even with all that going on, it's far more entertaining to watch the champ train, if that's what you want to call it. I like how the movie puts such an entertaining spin on the Conklin stuff, but when it comes to the champ, it looks all dark and gloomy because he's not even trying. He's smoking every day, can barely do a sit-up, and his daily cardio is actually just him chasing an ice cream truck. It's funny as hell, and the worst part, or funniest, depending on how you look at it, is his manager/trainer, played by the great Albert Hall, who has to try to defend the champ's lack of motivation in the press. The Damon Wayans stuff is truly some of the funniest stuff here, but unfortunately, there's not enough of it. The focus is mostly on Conklin, and I think that was intentional, to try to get the audience in on the love him or hate him aspect of it. That's something that I've always liked about the movie. It really pulls you into the fight hype to the point that you want to see the outcome of the fight yourself. This all leads to the weigh-in that has a way better atmosphere than the original announcement of the fight, with Conklin of course coming in looking like $1,000,000. But what about the champ? You know what? Sometimes people can put away ungodly amounts of food and still look the same, so surely a world-class athlete would be the same, right?
He looks like shit.
Although it's a prosthetic fake stomach, it's very believable, and at first glance, you would have thought Damon Wayans went all method on us and gained weight for the film. But we were deep into the Nutty Professor era of movies when it came to makeup, so he took the easy way out, as he should have.
Matter of fact, this movie released 1 month before the Nutty Professor did, which I'm sure did wonders for their box office returns.
Before we get to the fight, there's a side plot squeezed in that the movie really didn't have enough time to flesh out. Mitchell decides that it would probably be easier to just become a promoter himself, away from Sultan, and even convinces Conklin and his racist trainer, played by John Rhys-Davies, to get on board. Foolishly, he tells Sultan his plans, but Sultan is too cool to take him seriously. This stuff might have been a little compelling if it was believable at all that Mitchell could do what Sultan has been doing for years after just a few months of hype, but I guess that's the point, to show how naive he is about the game. It's just not enough time to make it interesting. Don't believe me when I say it's not enough time? Well, it's already time for the fight. Yep, the movie is only like an hour and 30 minutes, and there's only 20 minutes left. The movie was criticized for its length and how quickly it ends, and I have to agree. It would have been much better if we got more hype before the fight, because it is, after all, called the Great White Hype. But it is what it is. Check out this cameo by Lamont Johnson. Whether it be this or the 5 Heartbeats, my man's gonna leave an impression, one way or the other. What I do like is how much pageantry we the audience have to sit through before we get to the fight. Conklin comes out with a bunch of little people who are supposed to be leprechauns, I guess, and with a full live performance. And the champ, well, the champ is backstage watching Dolomite.
It seems comical, but with the amount of time it takes real fighters to come out during boxing matches, I can only imagine the type of nonsense they get into backstage while we all wait for them.
The champ says this is his inspiration tape, and it's what finally gets him mad enough to want to fight. We get one more cameo from Art Evans and another musical performance, this time by the Method Man, before we finally get to the fight.
Good luck, fat boy.
Am I that fat? No, just a whole lot of man.
Yes, champ. Yes, you are. So, with all that hype, the champ being fat and smoking every day, and Conklin probably being in the best shape of his life, how do you think the fight is gonna go? Well, let me just say this. When I first saw this movie, I didn't understand the message that the movie was trying to get across. So I truly believe that Terry Conklin was about to whip Roper's ass. But about 42 seconds into the first round, while delivering one of the coldest lines in the movie, this happens. All that build up and all that hype just for that. The audience is rightfully pissed, but also the movie-going audience back in '96 was also pissed. Not rightfully though. You see, I think moviegoers missed the point. The movie itself was setting you up for disappointment on purpose. It could have done a better job at it, but the whole point was to get you hyped up for a finale that was going to ultimately disappoint you. I think Reginald Hudlin was a little bit ahead of his time with this one, because most people went to watch this movie at face value as if it was about the fight, but it wasn't about the fight. It was about how most fights sell you on a promise that most times they don't deliver, so they can make money. And if you paid money to watch this movie, well,
Gotcha, bitch!
However, I can see how that might backfire once word of mouth got around. In the end, the fight is a success, and it makes a ton of money, and everybody is happy, except for Shabazz and crew. How do these dudes keep getting access to these places? He wants his title fight, and he wants it now, like right now. He and the champ get into an impromptu fight after the fight, and Sultan delivers a line I still randomly say every now and then.
Don't give away what we can sell!
The champ, unsurprisingly, eats the floor because he's out of shape and Shabazz is the real deal. And the movie ends with Sultan showing his true colors, holding on to his new toy. But wait a minute. To be honest, this isn't all bad for Conklin. He was just in one of the most successful boxing matches in a long time. Surely he can translate this to some ticket sales to his next concert, right? Let's get to the grade. I've always really liked The Great White Hype, primarily because of the comedy. Sadly, the critics did not share my enthusiasm, with most of them criticizing the movie for everything from it being not long enough to having underdeveloped characters. Roger Ebert himself said that it felt like the movie was missing an entire act. Like I said earlier, I tend to agree with him. The movie definitely should have been longer, and if it was, it would have had more time to develop the characters that the other critics thought were stifled, like Cheech Marin and John Lovett's characters. They were all interesting, but we get so little time with them. It's kind of funny that at the end of the film, they make fun of the fact that nobody knows who a particular guy is. And funny enough, we the audience don't really know who he is either, because he's barely in the movie. It's just way too many well-known people here, and not enough time to make them important to the story. All that said though, the movie has a ton of quotables and memorable scenes, and the comedy is top-notch. Now that I'm older and understand it more, I'm also a huge fan of how it attempts to be a takedown of the absurdity of professional fighting and how most of it is beyond staged. When it comes to that aspect, the movie is strong, and it's a lot more layered in execution than it got credit for. Sam Jackson is great as Sultan, and Damon Wayans is excellent as always as a jaded boxer. The only problem is that they had to share a short story crowded with so many other great actors. It's never been a bad movie though, just a slightly disappointing one with lots of potential. My grade for The Great White Hype is a C+. The buys might not have been high enough for this movie to be a success, but it was still an entertaining event.
And that's it for this episode of the BlackTrack. Let me know what you thought about the movie The Great White Hype in the comments down below. And also, give me some examples of your favorite fight hypes. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about my channel. And until next time, I'll holler at you.